Alright, hello and welcome back to Let's Play That. Today we're taking a look at 1943, the Battle of Midway, not to be confused with 1942 or 1944. Those are all very different games, completely different. There's just so much different with them. That being said, well, maybe it was on the Nintendo or something. I swear I played 1942 before, but I mean, after 5 years, it's a little hard to remember. But, oh... Okay, well, so in Galaga, you had to earn the two-player power-up, but thanks to shoddily mapped controls, I don't. I can play with that permanently. It's just a perfectly perfectly orchestrated concert of destruction. This right here. Taking a look at the graphics, and they are pretty darn solid. I mean, I remember the original 1942. Like, the gameplay is just top-notch, pure solid. But, just like Galaga, it's especially hard to avoid everything. Oh, and there's a health bar too. But I kind of remember the original 1942 looking just ever a bit so much more basic than this. But this, I mean, fully upgraded to 16-bit, and I want to say Super Nintendo era sprites, but I mean, this is of course going to be way better than Super Nintendo. And things are looking good. Alright, now, it's not a 1942 game unless your bomb is... That's almost disappointing in a sense. Because the original 1942, like, you didn't have a bomb. You had a loop-de-loop. Alright, let's see if third button... So I pressed the third button, and I just got a more impressive bomb. In fact, where does it even let me know? Oh, don't tell me. Okay, looking at our weapons on the bottom screen, timer-based, not shot-based. So, okay. I can live with that. Ooh. Now this is how you play the game. The experiences you can have in fake life and not real life. This is the best. Like in the old days with consoles, you could like input Game Shark codes, and you could like have way more fun with games sometimes than you ever could if you encountered it in the arcade. Well, here, well, I dare say we're having way more fun with it than we ever could in the arcade. Not to say we couldn't have fun with it in the arcade. Wow, no mercy, and it doesn't help that the shots really blend in with the background. That is one of the more beneficial additions of modern day bullet hell shooters, is that they kind of outline the bullets in some sort of contrasting color. What is it? It's Armed Police Bat Rider by Toplan, where even though the bullets are like indistinguishable bullet colored things, like they at least have a white outline and you at least have a fighting chance of dodging them. This, like, you saw those bullets, they were the same color as the ship. I mean, you're not dodging that. There's no... It's impossible. And the best part is, visually, it appears like I'm just playing with one ship. I mean, if you ignore the second health bar, which, of course, you should ignore the second health bar. I'm playing entirely legitimately, guys. You know it's a good game when you can just kind of, like, zone out and just get lost in the mechanics. Like... I'm moving around, I'm shooting stuff, but like, I'm in the zone right now. And that's really all you can ask for an arcade. Just 25 seconds of zoning out bliss. Well, 25 credits, 25 cents worth of zoning out bliss. Thankfully, both planes don't get damaged at the same time. That would be quite the treat if both planes could be damaged simultaneously by the same bullet. I don't think anybody would ever set it up like that, but it's the sort of thing where, like, you wouldn't think it could exist until it exists. And that's no fun. You can't quite see it, but I am moving my body, of course, to the movements of the planes. I feel like, oh, did I get an equalized power-up? Equalized health power-up? That's strangely the perfect power-up for me to get. You can't see it, but I'm syncing my body motions to the actual movements of the plane. Like, I know mentally it doesn't improve my performance, but just intuitively, my intuition tells me that yes, it should help. Oh dang, get a load of this flak gun, which actually manages to take out shots that are shot at us. So a lot of things, well, okay, typical mechanic in shoot 'em up games is like, you can shoot all the bullets you want at the enemies, the enemies can shoot all the bullets they want at you, and the bullets never interact. But as you saw with like one of those power-ups, the flak gun in particular, it can actually take out enemy shots. And a lot of the difficulty of these shooting games comes from filling up the screen with bullets and having them all fly in your general direction. And so that is where one of those flak guns would be really cool. Actually, I don't know that I've seen that in other games. All right, let's reform the dream team. Oh man, they really know how to block off your movement. So one of the things with shooting games is like if you have free reign, you can like laser reflexes, you could probably dodge through basically anything. 1943 knows that, and they know you. So what they're gonna do is it seems like they typically break up the middle of the screen. So like they kind of essentially cut your movement in half. And even worse, your plane is essentially no side attack. Like as you see, the default shot shoots straight ahead. So like if one of those boats kind of manages to like sneak in there, it's like you are sunk, you are gone. There's nothing to do, nothing to say. Now there was one power-up that sort of shoots them off in like a diagonal. Ooh, check it out, a laser, which does not help at all with the problem I'm currently describing. As you see the spread shot, like it can kind of hit to the side, but like not really. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see that all shots are limited. So, well, I don't want to say they're eliminating skill, but like they're kind of making it impossible. Like they're really stacking the odds against you. Like it's kind of typical casino rules where like anything that goes in favor of the house and doesn't like piss off your patrons so much that they immediately stop paying you money, it's legal. This game is valid. Oh, and that's even better. They can hide below the clouds. Jeez Louise. Yeah, I think I remember that about the original 1942. Like, it's a good game, it's a fun game, but man, oh man, do they know how to stack the deck against you. They just try everything they can. And now, well, I'd say I'm at a three-way, but these two planes are on top of each other. Okay. Wow. Just depressingly weak. And there's no charging mechanic or anything. It is, well, that being said, like, wanton destruction is a fun part of shooting games, but I always felt like the better challenge was seeing if you could just dodge all the bullet patterns and like being able to quickly, oh boy. Well, let's see if I can simultaneously enter. No. Oh, weird. As you saw, it went to the name entry screen, but I couldn't actually control it, which is weird because I'm pretty sure I had the controls set up to what they were naturally. Like, you'd imagine the name entry control scheme would use the same control scheme you would use for movement. Gah. I'm also kind of glad that you can credit spam, because I mean, some of these games, it's like, it's kind of fun, and it's nice and skillful for it to send you back to the beginning, but like, if you just want to pay your money, pay to win, and see the end, it's like, sometimes it's just worth it to do that. Huh, it only shows the green plane. Where's the red plane's contributions? What are you, anti-Soviet? Oh, but again, this is 1943, World War II. We hadn't gotten to that point yet. Just give it a second. Give it a year. Oh, now we're in Fuso. Is that actually where we're at, or just maybe that's a military acronym of some kind? FUSO, Fuso. And there's Fubar. Ooh, that. Oh, they call it the shotgun. But it's weird because it's almost sort of like chaff in that it gets rid of enemy shots. I guess chaff doesn't directly do that, but it does at least abstractly do that. At least a whole lot more than shotguns do. You point a shotgun at somebody's shots and it's not going to do anything. Huh, I feel like I've seen this enemy pattern before. That is really weird, because I mean, all the enemy patterns, they are different, but like, they're all the same, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, oh, sine loops, and then they're kind of slow, but they overwhelm you with numbers. Like they almost make it appear fair, but it's not really fair. I mean, that kind of makes me nostalgic for Galaga, where like, I mean, things are actually relatively fair. Like, you get killed in Galaga, it's because you're too dumb to have moved out of the way. But this game, it's like, when you get killed, it's because, well, that one enemy snuck behind you and started shooting at you. Or there were the 15 enemies coming from the top of the screen that you couldn't kill them all. So, take that. But, like, it's not like, fair in a purely competitive sense, I guess. Like, if Galaga is like chess, where like each move is kind of like carefully and intellectually curated and then implemented, then this would be like, I don't know, watching a boxing match where like, and in fact not even boxing in a boxing match, just watching a boxing match where you can't really control everything, but like you can kind of control it. I don't know. But yeah, you see, they're just like completely restricting your movement. There's essentially no way you can fight back. Well, Oh, I hadn't noticed that detail. Okay, so you can bomb, but I mean, you're burning the candle at both ends to do it. Is it a worthwhile trade? I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of disliked bombs in shooting games, just because, like, if you're using a, like, I feel like the way your game should be set up is you only ever use the bomb if you've gotten yourself into a bad situation. Like, you play Dodonpachi, and, like, you can usually control what's happening. Like, you can kind of manage the enemies. And in fact, the scoring system is all about managing the enemies. So, I mean, you kind of go through and fight them all and manage the enemies, and, like, you only ever have to use a bomb if you were, like, completely stuck. And, like, otherwise, you don't need a bomb. In fact, using a bomb is usually a marker of unskilled play. You lose your skill bonuses, you are just generally discouraged from using bombs. But this game, it's like, using bombs is, it's not like you're encouraged or discouraged, it's more just like an everyday inevitability. Like, yeah, you can kind of dodge things through skillful play, but like, enemies swarm you in just enough numbers that, like, you're gonna take an errant shot at 13 anyway. And it certainly doesn't help things that bombs use up your life. It's not like you have a certain number or anything. So, I mean, now bombs are like part of that whole calculus of attrition this whole game is going for. And it's a little rough. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's fine to like getting hit by enemy shots, at least that kind of feels like it's your fault. But like having to use a bomb because they filled the screen with enemies, it's like, is that fair? I don't know. I mean, certainly you could have affected it, but like, it doesn't feel fair. And I guess that's kind of like the problem with the 1942 series as a whole, and even Aero Fighters too, because it's basically the same as 1942, it's just on a Neo Geo console. Like, they're kind of fun to play, and they're kind of fun to play back in the day, but now that we've seen, like, the levels of gameplay brilliance you can get with bullet hell shooters, it just seems like such a superior way of doing things. Now I've got my own squadron of fighters the legitimate way, but as you saw, they just throw so many enemies at you, like, my whole squadron is gone in like a second. But you look at like bullet hell games and like, yeah, it's chaos, it's chaotic, but it's not really chaos, because I mean, they give you enough tools to get out of every situation. Like bullet hell kind of plays sort of like what we're doing right now. We're like, yeah, we've got a bunch of shots fired at us, but like there's a pattern. You can kind of dodge through it. Well, okay, not once the ship gets to the middle, in which case your mobility is like cut in fourths, quarters, tatters, basically, and you are just assaulted and swarmed on all fronts. That's not really cool, though. That's not really cool. Enter your initials. And, well, I bet it loops around. Yeah, well, they don't have that many symbols. It's always kind of a dicey, oh, just in time, every time. It's always kind of weird with the name entry screens where, like, they usually have some sort of litany of symbols, but it's never standardized, so you're never sure if it's actually faster to go left or right. As we saw, though, that time limit for entering your name is actually pretty strict. So, a high score was set. I don't know if it was actually set by me, Nothing ever. Let's see. The 10th place and the 1's place has not been used for scoring, so there's no way to know. Well, like that's kind of a nice way where like if you score 1's digits for scoring, but usually the ones on the scoreboard like they all end in zeros, perfect zeros, so they're like perfect scores in a way. Then you can kind of tell if the score set are human based or just the built-in developers. Actually, yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, they always set them to kind of round numbers. They don't necessarily have, like, the developer's best score. Like, that would be really cool if you could, like, fight against that one guy against Capcom who makes these games, and you're like, oh man, am I going to beat him this game? Can I beat the developer? And credit caps out at 9. You can tell this is really an 87 game. Are you sure it's not a 1943 game? Huh. Well, it's not even an intro. It's just 1940s. I mean, you know what it is, we know what it is, we all know what we're getting into. It just wants you to put in credits and get to it, basically. But unfortunately, I got to it, gave it a go, and, well, it didn't really get anywhere. I'm almost kind of disappointing. Like, I kind of remember this series as being, like, really cool, but I think it was because back in the day, like, these had the best graphics. But, I mean, nowadays, it's like I've seen more, I've grown as a person, games have grown up, and now it can't compete on graphics. And so what really makes a game a classic is gameplay. But I mean, if you don't have gameplay, then, well, you're just going to be discarded to the sands of time. And so this game, well, I don't know about discarded to the sands of time, but at least I'm out of time. So on that note, this cat's got a scat.